What is going on, everybody? It is yours truly, Mr. OK Fabe here. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the World of Fandom podcast. We're fans of pretty much everything, and I do really mean everything. You guys know me. I'm, of course, Connor, a.k.a. OK Fabe, and I'm not alone. As always, I got me my brother from another mother. I got Mr. AndrewCutter. Andrew, what's going on, Andrew?
I am living the dream.
Are you never not living the dream?
I never said what dream it was, but I'm living something.
It's a dry dream.
Well, it might be.
Maybe, I don't know. We can't see each other right now, and maybe that might be a good thing. It has been a hot minute. It has been an extra week since we have not done a podcast for two reasons. One, I was away on vacation with the Fandom, and another one is because our co-founder here celebrated his birthday.
Oh,
Calm
it's
down.
funny, dude. It's funny because I'm 34, right?
Oof.
And I believe I'm older than you, correct? You're still 33.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the asshole saying like you're gonna be pushing 40 next year.
Yeah,
For like
but here's the thing.
for like the 3 months that you're older than me.
Here's the thing. Two things have happened to me
this
year. Number one, I finally got to the point where I don't feel like age means nothing to me anymore.
Okay.
Like whether I'm 33, 34, 35, it doesn't matter. It's an arbitrary number. I know that sounds silly.
No,
but
we're in that weird like neutral phase right now as far as birthday and ages. I get what you mean.
Yeah. And second thing is I actually don't pay attention to my age so much that I forgot how old I was or how old I was turning. Like, I had to stop and think.
And do the math.
I had to think for 10 seconds. Wait, am I turning 33 or am I already 33? Like, I had to think.
Yeah.
So
that actually happened to me. That happened to me last year, where I'm like, "Fuck, I have to do math for a second. Give me a minute." And then I had to calculate. It's like, yeah. I don't think it's gonna hit us until we're in our I think 40 is the next big one, right? Because I mean, 21's usually the big one, but but you don't drink, which is commendable. And that's usually the big one for and then 30, and then now it's just like, well, shit, now we have to wait another decade. So yeah, I get what you mean by that. It's just like this weird neutral phase of well, it's a day, cool.
And you know what? It's like, other than becoming rich and famous or grandchildren, we've kind of accomplished everything, the big markers. I know this sounds silly, but marriage, children, we're out of any schooling that we have to do. It's just kind of we're just paying for what we have. Does that sound silly?
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, now we play the waiting game of death. That's a little bit of a morbid joke, but fuck it. But anyway, we want to thank you guys for continued support, of course, of the podcast. If you guys have not checked us out on Twitter at PodFandom, we've been very, very active on there lately, and we were looking to interact with you guys in a more different way. So me and Andrew will be kicking around some ideas in terms of doing something interactive with you guys more over there. Maybe the fact that we could do some polls or live polling. While we record them, or
hear me out.
Yep.
We do an OnlyFans page. And me, OnlyFans. Come on.
Are you now? I don't know if you mean you're saying let's jokingly set up an OnlyFans, or you're playing on the pun of our podcast. I can't tell what you're doing.
Ooh, I can't tell what I'm doing anymore either.
34.
How old am I again?
Oh man! But make sure you follow us over at Pod Fandom. We got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Of course, we love talking with you guys about anything in regards to fandom stuff. We're talking movies, comics, TVs, video games, anything in between. And like I said, we've been down for an extra week basically, and there's a lot of stuff to catch up on. So first and foremost, Andrew, let's go to your hot takes real quick. You got some hot takes for us? Something spicy?
Nothing spicy.
Mild?
These are mild,
okay.
but sweet. Sweet. You
like
know
sweet
what?
chili
sweet,
sauce?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the Pokemon natures, these are nice and sweet.
Right.
Anyways, first and foremost, I just watched the 5th episode of Superman and Lois.
Yep.
Fuck, man. You need to get on the show because honestly, I can say this is probably the best DC show in a long time.
Ooh,
and quite possibly one of the best comic book shows out there.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
It does a couple things really well. Number one, it does Superman very well.
Mm-hmm.
It balances Superman and Lois,
Mm-hmm.
hence the name.
Yep.
Number two is it focuses on the family aspect. And number three, they do such a great job with the CGI and the fighting and everything. It's such a good TV show. So you got to get on that so we can do a podcast talking about it. But I just finished that. And in addition to that, that's on HBO Max now too. So normally it runs on the CW, but HBO is helping the CW with producing and financing it, so they also get it on HBO Max. So
of course,
just throwing that out there.
Yep.
And number two, I don't think I did it last week. No, I did it this week. I beat Bravely Default 2, which is actually the third game in the series. Fantastic JRPG. But Con, do you know what I do after I finish a big game?
I don't, or I can't remember, but
I like to do a palate cleanser. I like to go and play a game that requires no energy other than just playing it.
Gotcha.
So after I play a big game, I play like a week of Fortnite. Just every day I play Fortnite, and I'm good at it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the best, but I'm good. But the new Fortnite update that they did, which I don't remember when they did, the new season, is actually pretty good. They introduced some new guns. They introduced some new features. Really fun. So if you've been off Fortnite for a while, it's a good time to jump back on.
So two things I'll say to that. Number one, now that I have some lulls in between Marvel shows, I definitely want to get into Lois and Superman. So I think that since Loki's not out for another like month and a half, so I might jump on that one. Number two, Fortnite. I did hear some rumors we were getting a Batman skin.
Yes, again, they already did Batman and Catwoman.
Well, they did.
I think they're going to re-release it. Because they're releasing a comic right now, which is a crossover with DC and Fortnite. So my skin currently right now is of the CW Flash, which, dude, it looks so weird. The Flash running around with an AK-47, hopping into a Mack truck, running over people. I can only imagine what's going to...
It's so, like, it's, like, not... What?
Dude, so I don't let the kids see me play Fortnite. I don't like it. I think Fortnite should be... I hate how many kids are on Fortnite, but I don't let my kids see it. But sometimes they get a peek because I'll play it when they're eating breakfast or something. And
like
so
a good dad
my
should.
oldest peeks over and he sees me as the Flash. He goes, "Are you the Flash?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the Flash." And I'm hopping into a car. He's like, "Why are you getting into a car?" I'm like, "Well, I need to get to the other side of the map." He's like, "But you're the Flash." I'm like, "Fuck, man, you just made the most amount of sense in that fucking question."
He's not wrong. It's like, well, why do you need a gun to shoot people? But you're the Flash.
You're the fucking Flash, dude.
Oh man, that's too good.
Yeah, new update, so it's definitely good. And Bravely Default 2, if you want a fantastic JRPG, I know plugged it before. Get it.
Okay, all right. I'll definitely have to check those out. But yeah, I definitely, I'm looking forward to how those are going to turn out. So for sure. And I just, there we go. Got something fixed here, there, and I think we're good. Cool. So I've been keeping a list because, well, quite frankly, we've been MIA for. MIA for an extra week, so I'm like, I think we need to go ahead and update this. So I have here a couple of things. I think the first thing I want to start off with is some wrestling stuff, because boy howdy, did some wrestling stuff happen while we were gone. And I think the biggest thing, and I'm sure you may have heard this, Andrew, the spring cleaning was in full effect.
Oh yeah, I heard this, and I heard Mickey James got her trash bag sent to her too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get to that because there's a lot of interesting tidbits about this. So we usually start off with the wrestling talk anyway after Andrew's hot take. So I figured this would probably be a good point to start. But let's talk a little bit about this. So basically, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, WWE released. Let's see here. I believe it was 10. Let me just make sure I have the list here. 10 wrestlers basically under their contract at the time, and there was an interesting list. Now, some of these I wasn't honestly too shocked with, because a lot of these are usually wrestlers that aren't really utilized that well. They're They weren't really doing anything anyway, but sure enough, these are the ones that I have here released. I'm very curious to hear Andrew's opinion on some of them. So I'm going to start off with the ones that really had, realistically, like the least amount of impact, no pun intended, as far as, being released from the company. So the first one I have here is we got Tucker, who is Otis's tag team partner. You remember him?
Yeah, don't care.
Cool.
He can go.
Wesley Blake, he was part of the Forgotten Sons. Again, really nothing too crazy there.
No.
Chelsea Green, you may not know her very well. She was very successful in Impact Wrestling, former world champion, a women's champion there. She was trying to break through. She had made her Raw debut and then got injured. Really didn't do anything, unfortunately, with their company. But here's some of the other more notable names. We got Bo Dallas.
I don't care.
Do you believe? You don't believe?
I don't care about
I
Bo
believe
Dallas
I don't care enough about Bo Dallas. But he's the
believe me when I say that.
He's the brother of the Fiend.
That's fantastic, but he's not the Fiend.
Okay. Kalisto.
Sure. I don't care.
Okay. Mojo Rawley, which I feel bad for Mojo because I think as soon as they turned him heel, he was screwed. But the big ones, basically the big four, was Mickie James.
I love Mickie James, but I don't care. She hasn't really done. I don't think she's been doing much. So
she hasn't.
I don't care.
So Mickie James, both Peyton Royce and Billie Kay of the Iconics.
So this does piss me off, right?
Okay.
I sent you a TikTok about this. It pisses me off that WWE breaks up the Iconics for single runs and then fires them because they have nothing for them to do.
Right.
But there's a fucking tag team division that you could use them in. And let me just say, I don't care about Peyton Royce that much, but Billie Kay, I think, had some legit promo talent.
She was trying. She was making chicken salad out of chicken shit as best as she could on SmackDown. I got some clips sent to me. I still get wrestling stuff sent to me over on Twitter all the time, and she's entertaining. And I guess the rumblings was the reason they originally split them up was that supposedly they wanted to really push Peyton Royce to the moon, which that clearly happened. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's the general consensus, is that you have like one of the only legitimate teams in your division. You're going to break them up for reasons still unclear, and then you're just going to let them go doing nothing with either of them. So cool beans. The biggest upset, though, that across the board I saw, that next to the Iconics being released, was Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I didn't like this. I mean, he's only been doing commentary for the past, year or so?
He did it at Mania.
Yeah, but like, why? Why would you want him to go anywhere else? Like, it's not a case where it's like Big Show that if he goes to AEW, like, oh, whatever. Like, you can utilize him. And let me tell you something. He was pretty good as a commentator. If you kept him just for commentating, there's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, I really would have liked to see Samoa Joe come back for a bit. Was he out with an injury or something?
I believe he had some sort of minor injury that he was kind of like a nagging one he was healing. That's why they threw him onto commentary, because they still wanted him to be remembered, and kind of, they tend to do that sometimes when they have like a wrestler who's injured, but they still want his presence to still be felt on the show. By the way, as we're talking about this, go figure, Impact Wrestling, formerly TNA Wrestling, is airing their pay-per-view Rebellion right now, right? And someone just messaged this to me a second ago. We're recording this obviously as the pay-per-view is going on. Impact, as they're called now, is doing their big summer pay-per-view Slammiversary in July, and apparently they decided to use Samoa Joe's image in the promo video.
Oh, I guess baby girl's going back home.
Listen, take that for what it's worth. I mean, he's been there before. He was a world champion in Impact. The 90-day, I think, I will say this, the funniest tweet I saw was, I can't remember what the day is, but I think it's like what is it, July something or whatever, the 90 days after they're done, is a Wednesday, and it just says, like, it shows the day of the week being a Wednesday, and then it just shows a picture of Tony Khan with like a really derpy looking grin on his face because Tony Khan's the owner of AEW, and of course being a Wednesday on the 90 days. So anyway, But just thought that was very interesting. Yeah, I mean, really the biggest bummer I think was Joe. But I agree with you on the Iconics, another bummer. But of course, we got to talk about the trash bag incident.
Yeah.
Which I want to hear your thoughts on it.
My thoughts well, I listened to Jim Cornette's thoughts on it, and he had an interesting take. And my thoughts are this: I don't think anyone big. I don't think Vince. Listen, Jim Cornette had a theory that whoever it was, or maybe whoever Jim Cornette does the podcast with, whoever it was that was under Triple H, that they were planning on firing anyway, so they just used this as an excuse. That's all well and good. That could be the theory. But I honestly think Triple H, Steffi, and Vince, none of the big high-ups knew about this shit because they don't give a shit. Like I don't think they care how Mickie James goes out unless it's like a really negative one. So when shit hits the fan, they probably jumped in and intervened. I think it's a little bit more legit than conspiracy theory, but I think it's just some dumbass employee doing some dumbass thing thinking they can get away with it.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think it's anything. How do I phrase this? I think it's not this big thing that people are looking into. I did see some like posts online. I'm like, calm the fuck down. It's not that big of a deal in terms of like, oh man, it's a conspiracy. No, it's a level of just showing how they didn't give a shit. You know,
yeah,
and
exactly.
the biggest thing that I was explaining to my wife the other night or about this last week, I'm like, you could have put her stuff in the bag. Like, it wasn't like they just shipped the bag; they put the bag in a box. Like, like what? And by the way, I'm seeing a bunch of fun, like, I don't know if it's real or not, but I think it's an Etsy shop that has like the trash bag with the WWE logo on it. I'm like, oh no, they're selling that.
Hey, I have a question, and this is just me not knowing.
Yeah.
WWE's been at the same performance center for the past year. Why wouldn't Mickie James just have her gear on her?
So I was thinking about this, but it could be one that she had her own locker and there was a couple of things already there that she kept there. It also could be the fact that they rotate people in, so some people they call in, some people they don't. I don't know the specifics, but you're right. They've been roughly at the same place the last year. I think there might be just like gear and stuff that she might have kept there to just change into, you know what I mean? Because if if they keep going back and forth, why is she going to keep bringing her gear with her back and forth? That's my guess. But you're right. They've been at the same place, but again, she was caught off guard. What was she fired on? It was like a Thursday or something? And she's on Raw. So, I mean, bad timing all around. But yeah, that was interesting, some stuff. I'm like, oh, wrestling's slow this week. Well, never mind. Now, we got a couple of things I wanted to kind of touch a little base on. But speaking of WWE, did you hear the news about Ronda Rousey?
She had her kid, right? She's pregnant.
She is pregante.
So she's not coming back anytime soon.
There was some rumblings that she might return to WWE this year. She still wants to, but obviously she cannot take bumps with the baby bump.
Now, does she want to? Because I could be wrong, but I felt like she had her fill at WWE, and that's why she left. Like, why did she leave?
I mean, I think that in order for Becky to really soak up the passing or like what Ronda was doing of putting her over, Ronda needed to go away for a while. Because especially, let's be fair here, Ronda's the biggest star at the roster at that time, right? So if Becky beats her and then Ronda hangs around, like it doesn't really do much for Ronda's, you know what I mean? Like, she has like kind of like Brock Lesnar presence of her in terms of like, oh, when she shows up, it's a big effing deal.
I get it, but is that the reason though, or is that what you just guess?
I've heard a bunch of different things. I don't think there's any bitterness or ill will towards her. I think she signed the 1-year deal and she just kind of like, well, I'm going to try it for a family and see what happens. And then there was rumblings of her trying to come back, but things just didn't work out for whatever reason. And then bam, COVID hit.
Yeah.
So
when's Becky Lynch coming back, by the way?
So Becky has been, I believe she's been training, because I've seen some Instagram photos of her training here and there. But I don't know anything as far as a timetable. If I were them, SummerSlam would be the place to bring her back. That's just me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Speaking of fighting, I want to get your little tidbits on the Jake Paul fight.
Oh, I didn't follow it.
Well, more so, I didn't really pay too much attention, but I did pay attention to the numbers. And you've seen these lately with all the YouTube trends about like YouTubers like getting these big high-profile boxing matches.
Yeah.
And I pulled up the interesting numbers here. Jake Paul's pay-per-view did 1.5 million pay-per-view buys and generated $75 million.
Holy shit.
And
Did he lose or win?
He won. He won the first round. There's controversy because some people think that the fight was rigged, just the way it went down. You have to go see the clip for yourself. But I'm more curious in terms of your thoughts about like this like new wave of like boxing with YouTubers. Like, kind of weird, kind of cool though. Like it blows my mind, the numbers.
You know what? I'm okay with it, and I'll tell you why. I think boxing is, without a doubt, one of the most interesting and technical sports, or fighting sports, competitive fighting. But honestly, for me, I can't speak for everyone, I haven't given a shit about boxing in years.
True.
In years. In the past 10 years, the only time I gave a shit about boxing was when Tyson said he was coming back for a fight, and that's it. Because it's fucking Tyson. Tyson is a maniac. I love him because
you didn't care about McGregor and Mayweather.
I mean, I had a little bit of an interest, but I didn't watch the fight. I was a little pissed that McGregor didn't win, but I guess that just goes to show how
I was too
good Mayweather is. So,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, boxing needs what it can because I don't know how much views boxing gets. I don't follow it.
Well, there you go.
I can't say it's that much. I mean, UFC is crushing it probably.
I mean, I'm sure they still are. I mean, speaking of crushing, did you see that clip from the fight last night?
Oh, with the leg?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had sudden shades of Psycho Sid fucking come into my head when I saw that happen.
I wasn't on Twitter for some reason that night, or like at that time, and then like after it happened, I hopped on, and I flooded with that gif of his leg. I'm like, come on, it can't be that bad. And I look, I'm like, wow, it's almost the exact same thing. Good Lord.
It's brutal. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, go watch it if you can find it, if they haven't censored it or not. But switching gears again, because I know we're going to talk about like the last two things a lot. Let's talk about the Shang-Chi trailer. So I asked Andrew literally 5 minutes before we recorded this, did you see the Shang-Chi trailer that came out? No. Okay, let me send it to you, send back. And then he was just like, yeah, I saw it. Now,
bro, what do you want me to say? It's a character. Okay. I'm
just honest opinion. I just want your honest opinion.
Yeah, honest opinion, right?
Yeah.
I'm a moderate Marvel. I have knowledge of Marvel moderately.
Right.
That came out really fucked up, right? If my knowledge for
average fan,
DC
right?
If my knowledge for DC is an S tier, right? SABCD.
Yeah.
If my knowledge for DC is an S tier, my knowledge for Marvel is like a B tier, right?
Yep.
I don't know Shang-Chi, right?
Right.
The only martial artist that I know that really should have had a movie was Iron Fist, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, and that series went well.
Without me knowing the character, I mean, it looks pretty. It looks like it had some fun fighting, right? A little crouching tiger dragon.
Right.
But at the same time, there's nothing that drew me in. It was just like, oh, that's a movie, isn't it?
Fair enough. So, I don't know too much about Shang-Chi either. I know his origin, and I know what was his origin in the comics. Basically, in the world of Marvel, Shang-Chi is ranked either the top or at least the top 3 as far as hand-to-hand combatants. Like, he is the best, like, hand-to-hand combatant fighter in Marvel, like, period. Or at least the top 3. And I'm not, like, the choreography looks fantastic. I'm really pumped to see where that goes. But it's kind of like going back to that conversation we had a while back on one of the episodes where I said, like, you asked me, like, oh, well, what are they going to do now? It's like none of these movies connect to each other in any way, shape, or form. So what in God's name are they planning? Because you know Marvel plans shit out 7 years in advance. Because I said, look, you've got like, think of these are the 4 movies that we've got in the MCU this year. Ready? Black Widow, Shang-Chi, The Eternals, and Spider-Man.
Yeah, so only one of them I care about.
None of those connect.
Poor fucking Black Widow, right? They keep on trying to make all these other females like Captain Marvel and this the big female of Marvel. It should have been Black Widow from the beginning, but no, she's dead. This is a throwaway movie, and this is probably the safest fucking movie you can do because it's Black Widow. You put it on Disney Plus, and it'll do numbers.
I mean, I'm still gonna watch it.
I'll watch it too because I mean, even though I don't think they did justice for that character, I still enjoyed Scarlett Johansson's portrayal of her.
I also love Taskmaster.
Yes, I like Taskmaster too.
Oh yeah. But no, I mean, so Shang-Chi was in the comics. He was the adopted son of a guy, and I can't believe this is real. He was a warlord named. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Fu Manchu.
Oh God. Really?
That was in the. Look it up. It's in the comics.
No, I'll disbelieve you.
So what they did in this one was they retconned the Mandarin, and so the Mandarin is the main villain in this one, and the Mandarin's the adopted father of Shang-Chi. So Mandarin adopts Shang-Chi. It looks like he trains him in like all the forms of martial arts, let him live his life for 10 years, then calls him back in.
You mean Iron Man Mandarin? Like motherfucker has rings and starts killing shit Mandarin?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
They retconned the whole thing.
I mean, that's kind of interesting. Dude, they should have led with that.
Well,
if I saw him, I mean, I forget what Mandarin looks like in the comics because it's been a while.
Yep.
But I remember a fucking cartoon Mandarin like crazy.
The green
motherfucking
one?
The green one. The green elf come out.
Yep.
So I saw a motherfucker that was green with pointy ears and slicked back hair.
Yep.
And then rings. I would be like, oh, I'll go for that.
So here's the thing, though. I think they've changed the rings.
Oh.
So I don't know if you caught this when you saw the trailer 25 minutes ago, but I think they made the rings into bracelets that you wear on the arm. Yeah, so I think that's what they did because, we just had Infinity Stones and a gauntlet. We can't have more shit on people's hands. Let's do bracelets, which, depending on how it plays out, it could go either way. But yeah, it's that Mandarin. They completely retconned the, what's his name, playing Mandarin in Iron Man 3. Bloody hell. I mean, it looks interesting. It looks decent enough. It's more just, for me, how the fuck is this fitting into the bigger picture of what Marvel is going to shape up into? That's really my question about everything. And I think you said it best in one of the episodes, like, listen, they won with Endgame. At this point, they can do anything they want and it'll turn to gold. So, hold on 1 second. I think we lost Andrew. Did we lose you? Hey.
I don't know what happened.
Weird.
Like everything went completely silent.
Well, I think the call failed, which is fine. We're gonna keep this in. Fuck it. What part did you hear me get cut off at?
You were talking about how they just had Infinity Stones and Infinity Gauntlets.
So I said, yeah, they just had the Infinity Stone, Infinity Gauntlets. I'm like, so they can't have shit in their hands. Let's put bracelets on their arms. And I said, but I think you said it best. At this point, I'm like, I'm wondering where this is going to fit into the future of MCU, right? And I think you actually said where it's like, listen, they just succeeded with Endgame, so fuck it, they can do whatever they want.
They could. They could.
I
honestly think the next thing should be Doctor Doom.
I agree.
I think everything should lead. It should lead up to Doctor Doom.
They're gonna do a hell of a deal with that. I think Feige has expressed interest in like wanting to handle Doctor Doom very carefully. So I have a lot of faith in Feige that he's gonna do it right. But speaking of Marvel, real quick before we get into the last bit of Marvel news, did you hear about the Disney-Sony deal?
No, what was it?
So this might be interesting. So I'm going to read an article here. I'm going to try and blast through it as much as I can. Disney and Sony have signed a multi-year content licensing agreement that will bring new Sony theatrical releases, starting with its 2022 films, to Disney-owned platforms. The deal also gives Disney the rights to many of Sony's older films, including all Spider-Man titles, meaning that movies starring Spider-Man, which are notably absent from Disney Plus, could eventually make their way to the streaming service.
I can't say I'm surprised.
Sony's oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
Sony's theatrical releases from 2022 to 2026 are included in the deal, and Disney will get access to them following their Pay 1 TV window. Starting in next year, that window, which follows the film's theatrical and home run videos, will be owned by Netflix, thanks to a deal they announced also earlier in the month. So even though Disney and Sony's deal means that Disney won't have new Spider-Man films right after their theatrical run, the company will get to include them in its streaming catalog on the long term. But still, that's a pretty... So basically, if you're hoping that Spider-Man was a No Way Home is going to have the same thing like Black Widow, where it's like, oh, you can see it in the theaters or pay Disney Plus. It's not going to be like that. And it's not even going to be immediate. It's probably going to be like roughly after it gets available, like a Blu-ray or DVD combo, that you will eventually see it onto Disney Plus. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, I think the whole Disney premium, paying for it is such a stupid tactic. I hate that Disney does that, because all you do is you just wait for the movie to come out. But I think that still definitely behooves Sony more than Disney. I mean, it's definitely good for Disney, but I think Sony needs Disney more than Disney needs Sony. If that makes sense.
Agreed. I mean, I think I was actually thinking about this. I'm like, at this point, it's just a fucking waiting game for Disney to get Spider-Man rights back. Like it's... Who are they fooling? But they did say other Sony picture properties like Jumanji and Hotel Transylvania, which I love, will also make its way. Plus, Disney owns Hulu, so there's a bunch of other stuff that could be coming. But I just thought it was a very notable thing, because it's always interesting to see like this Disney Sony like tit for tat, like back and forth with the Spider-Man franchise, just because it is so unique and we haven't seen anything like it before.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
Especially. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say.
I was just saying, especially seeing that Spider-Man's the single biggest Marvel character, and Disney doesn't have it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so let's talk about the big one of the big two things with this week in Marvel, Falcon and Winter Soldier season finale. So you caught up.
I did.
And I want to hear your thoughts on it first, because I know the last time you saw was episode 3, so there's been a lot of like catching up to do. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the last couple of episodes and then the series as a whole.
Okay.
Because I know you said, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but because I know you said that, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like the politics in the movie or the show was like something you were like, eh.
Yeah, I'll just say it upright. When it comes down to any fictional media that I watch, unless it's a flat-out movie or television show that is geared towards a specific social or political ideology, I usually don't like it in my cereal, right?
Right.
So if I'm going in and I'm going to watch a show about that specifically is geared toward, let's talk about the Obama administration, or let's talk about, these policies for, whatever, right? Let's talk about racial tension over here. Let's talk about border control over here. Unless I'm going on my way to view that stuff, I just don't want it in my cereal, baby. I just don't. It's not saying I'm for or against anything, right? I'm not saying that stuff doesn't or does happen. I just don't want to consume it, because I go to these things to not have to deal with,
escapism.
I don't want to deal with wokeism. I don't want to deal with the far right, the far left. I just want to eat my cake and enjoy it, right?
Right.
And I said this before. I think Captain Falcon. Wow.
Dude,
show me a move.
Right? I've been doing that all remember we was doing it the last 3 shows we did? Like, God.
Yeah. God damn it.
It's hard. It's hard.
Is and I'm going to give you my opinion on the show as a whole and tell you why I don't like the political stuff. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier is a very good, quiet TV show. What I mean by quiet TV shows, although I'm sure it's going to play into some grand plan where it's fucking the Lords of Shadows
Mm-hmm.
and all these other things are coming together, right?
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's a nice little show that I can just watch and enjoy. It tells a story from beginning to end. The characters are great. I like Falcon. I like the Winter Soldier. I like them together. They're like the fucking odd couple. I like Falcon's family. I like his trials and tribulations with them. I like the action. I like the concept when it comes down to the freedom fighters and the one Earth, one whatever they say, and how they deal with, like, well, this person disappeared 5 years ago. Now someone's living in his house. Who gets the house? Kind of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a really good concept. I just think that this unnecessary, like, racial stuff that comes into it, that I get it, but it's not needed. The only thing that I think worked for telling the story what it was is, and forgive me, I'm going to mess up names, the super soldier that was thrown in prison for many years, right?
Isaiah Bradley.
Yes, I think his character worked well in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they were telling too much of some kind of woke story there, but like the whole scene where fucking Falcon is having an argument in the middle of the street and the cops come up and they're about to arrest him.
Oh, like, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
I don't think that was necessary, because at the end of the day, it's not about a white Captain America. It's not about a Puerto Rican Captain America. It's not about a black Captain America, a Chinese or an Asian, or a woman or a man. Captain America is just a fucking symbol. It shouldn't be about a race. It shouldn't be about gender or ethnicity or any identity. It should be about a hero. And I think that's the only complaint I have about the show, is those, and they weren't even egregious, right? They were small little things here and there, but I'm just like, it's Disney wokeism. That Disney is a go woke or go broke kind of situation. And the only other thing I don't like is minor spoilers. There was that heel turn that happened.
Yeah.
I didn't care for that. But so, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No. I was going to say I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
I think because here. The whole point of all these Disney Plus shows is to really flush out these minor characters. We saw that with Wanda in WandaVision. And I'll say that, like, I don't want to say I lowered my expectations, but I calmed myself down when it came to Falcon and Winter Soldier, because I was on that hype train that everybody else was, like, oh, it's fucking Mephisto, and, like, waiting for, like, this big moment, and then realizing that, like, yeah, these shows are not the big grandiose things that the Marvel movies are. And this show was a great example of it, but I do like that they did tackle the idea of race in this show, because I think I'd rather, this is going to sound bad, I'd rather them do it here than in the next movie, because I don't know if you heard, they did say that Captain America 4 is in the works.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. I'm going to challenge you on something.
All right.
And listen, I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea about this.
And there are things I didn't like about the show, which I'll get to in a second.
Why did race even have to be a part of the story? And the reason why I'm asking this is because of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that people of color should rely on race being a story-driven element for a couple of reasons. One is I think it's an overused element, right? And number two is I think it takes away from the actual development of a character. Certain characters are incredibly well-developed characters that don't have race as a origin story or as a driving force or even as a small element of the character. Take Batman. Batman is a straight white male character who you can't tell a story about him being oppressed as a white man or dealing with racism as a white man other than being, tangentially kind of like, I don't know, my family was racist back in the day or something like that, or Batman is racist or something, right?
Right.
So Batman had to develop as a character without having to use race. Race never comes into the question with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every time we get a new character in for any of these properties coming out, it has to deal with some kind of thing that is very sensitive right now in our social climate, right? So I think that Falcon is a strong enough character that doesn't need to have race be a thing to have a driving force for him. And there are some characters out there that are characters of color that are better because they don't, I don't want to say better, but they don't have to rely on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take one of DC's best black characters, Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart had to deal with race back in the 70s when he was introduced,
right?
Because that was kind of the thing at the time. And what I mean as the thing is there was a lot of the social movement that was going on then when he was introduced.
Sort of kind of like what's going on now.
Correct. But listen.
Yeah, I'm just go ahead.
But listen, there's a difference. When he came out, that was new. Using that element of the story.
Right.
Now it's not new. It's used a lot. And Jon Stewart is no longer really attached to his race being a defining feature of his character.
Mm-hmm.
His defining features, he's a fantastic leader. He's a former veteran. He is stoic and intelligent, and he works well with others. Like, he has all these qualities, and he also has the weight of, fucking accidentally blowing up a planet on his shoulders. Like,
yeah.
He Death Starred something, kind of.
Whoopsie doodle. Oopsie poopsie.
So do you see my kind of frustration?
I do.
That
I'm not.
And listen, if there's a story that is talking about race in America, like a story about the oppression of someone back in the day when racism was around, or if we're doing a story about Malcolm X, or we're doing a story about Martin Luther King, or even if there's a story that's coming out right now about the Black Lives Matter, or about the George Floyd, or anything that's going on right now, if that is what the story is being, and they're saying, we're going to tell this story about the protests during coronavirus and how race was a part of it, I'm all for it. Let's tell that story. Let's watch a movie. Let's watch a TV show and have it be good. I just don't think that these characters need to have these political or social things always have to be a driving force, because I think that it takes away from the characters and the stories when it happens.
The only thing I'll say, too, is that it was, to my knowledge, the only time a superhero show or movie talked about this, with only one exception I can think of, but never this, like, I guess, direct about it, which is Superman. But Superman obviously wasn't much more race as it is more like, they kind of, I don't want to say walk the line, but you get what I'm trying to say. It wasn't as direct as this obviously was. I think that I get where you're coming out saying that the race should not be the how do I say this the right way? A fallback characteristic? Is that the way I could say it correctly? But I think that if you're going to have this discussion, if you're going to do this with this, I think this show and this moment, especially this arc, is the best time to do it, because it's part of Sam's development into becoming Captain America, because it's like the elephant in the room. Like, we're really not going to talk about the fact that, like, this happened, blah, blah, blah. Plus, there's so many other stories that tie into it that it helps. I hate to say, like, the ends justify the means, but in some ways it kind of does, in terms of, like, getting to that point and having that conversation about, like, yeah, this is a thing, and I think that I don't think it's going to be revisited again. So if they're not going to, this, I think, is the perfect platform to do it. To my knowledge, I could be wrong. I'm sure people can correct me on that. But that's not to say there weren't things I didn't like about the show. And the one thing I really didn't like, other than the heel turn that everyone and their mother saw coming, was Carly. And I think we lost Andrew again.
That call just dropped again.
What the hell? We're going to keep this in again. Screw it. I was saying the other thing I didn't like was Carly. Okay, after some technical difficulties, here we go. I was just saying before we got rudely interrupted was
6 times.
Yeah, right. The one thing I really didn't like, besides the heel turn, was also Carly Morgenthau, the leader of the Flag Smashers.
What did you not like about her?
I didn't like how she, like, flip-flopped. Like,
well, I kind of like that.
They I feel like wanted to go for like the sympathetic villain, and then I thought, like I said, I've said this before on my streams, I thought she would have either turned herself in or die, but I didn't expect her to die that way. I just felt like she went like really like balls to the wall at the end, which I was just not expecting from the conversation she was having with Sam.
Yeah. So when it comes down to the character, I actually really enjoyed her character because I think it is a excellent example of how radicalism in any form, right?
Right.
Lawful or unlawful, chaotic or non-chaotic, right, can be intoxicating and blinding and corrupting, right? So this is a character that clearly has certain ideals that, you know, she believes in what she's doing, and you know, maybe she's making some good decisions here and there, but ultimately she is lying to herself to convince herself what she's doing. Now her death sucks to suck. I knew she was going to die. I didn't know she was just going to get gangster fired down.
I mean,
she was just on the ground, boom, 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 done.
Yeah, I knew she was either going to give herself up or die. It was one of the two.
I kind of wish Walker would have got her because it would have.
Yeah, that would have been
his character arc.
Yeah, which by the way, Walker I really liked. Even him as a dick. Like, can you believe that he like killed them and then they had the fight and he broke his arm and everything?
Yeah, dude, I feel bad for Walker too. Like, listen, I think Walker is a good dude that's just made bad decisions.
Yep.
Yeah,
he is very sympathetic.
He is. He's sympathetic and like he wants to do well, and I get it. And like, a lot of it is that superhuman serum, but like super soldier serum. But like, I kind of feel sympathetic towards him. But he's going to be a pain in the fucking side of Cap, the new Cap, in the future, I think.
So, my favorite character, if John Walker was not, Zemo was my favorite in this thing, bar none.
Yeah, Zemo was really good. I enjoyed Zemo. I didn't care for him in the movie as much, but I think they did a really good job with the character here.
Except he wore his purple mask for like all of 5 fucking seconds.
It's a goofy ass mask.
It's trailer fodder. Let's just be real here. Yeah. The new Captain America suit.
It's fucking gorgeous, dude.
I love it so much.
Yeah. It's it looks, I want to say 80% accurate to Sam's suit in the comics, because he was Cap in the comics, right?
Right.
And it's gorgeous suit. I love it. I love everything about it. I think it looks great. I think it pops. I like the usage of white on it. Like with Steve's suit, is more like blue is the primary color and white and red are the secondary, where this is like white and blue are kind of fighting for the primary colors. So there's 2 primary colors and the red is more the secondary one.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it works well with the wings look and everything about it. I think Sam's character is probably my favorite character out of this, although Bucky takes a close second. But yeah, dude, I think if anyone's going to be the successor for Captain America, it's him, and they did a good job at fleshing out that process.
I do,
because if they had done a 4th movie, they would have to run the problem. Well, yeah, but if they had done a 4th movie without this, they would have run into the problem of either rushing him into the role of Captain America, or spending 75% of the movie building him up to being Captain America. Doing this 5-episode run, turning him into Cap, will make the next movie much easier.
Which is why I really enjoyed this. I actually enjoyed this one a lot more than WandaVision. Like I did really like WandaVision, but this one, I just enjoyed the pacing more, the writing more, the acting more. Like, because WandaVision was just a riddle you were trying to solve as you went along, which, don't get me wrong, was fun. But this was just, yeah, it was good stuff. It was so far it's my favorite Marvel series, although Loki might take the cake once that comes out in June, which fuck, Marvel's been knocking it out of the park so far with these shows.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do, I know they did post-credit scene, but I'm surprised they didn't do like a big surprise. See, that's dude, that's how fucking spoiled we are as fans.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We expect there to be some big surprise. I honestly thought that man Chris Evans was going to show up just for a couple of seconds.
I didn't want him to show up at all.
You didn't?
No, and the only reason I said this somewhere else, I said if we get Chris Evans, I said I only want it as either like a flashback or like if he's in the crowd and gives like Sam a nod and then walks away, like that's it. I do not want a lot of focus on him because the whole point of this is to build up Sam and Bucky. Like, Steve's gone. Like, even Sam said it in one of the episodes. He's like, listen, with all due respect, Steve is gone. Like, it doesn't matter if he's dead or not. The point is that we're trying to move away from Steve. And so if you put too much effort onto having him there, it to me, I thought it would take away from it, depending on what they did.
Could you just answer a question for me?
Okay.
At the end of Endgame,
Yep.
Steve went back in time and basically spent out the rest of his life as a civilian with Peggy Carter, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Sharon Carter is Peggy's granddaughter, right?
Grandniece, I believe.
Grandniece? Oh, I was going to say, because then wouldn't she be blood related to Cap in some way?
Well...
Because we don't know if they had kids or not.
Correct.
But I mean, motherfucker, if they were having unprotected sex, so super soldier semen is gonna get in there. She's gonna become Octomom.
Super soldier semen.
What? One nut. Boom. Octomom.
I got the super soldier serum. It's white. Well. And that's the other thing too is I'm glad like they did set up stuff like U.S. agents already on the board, which now I want a Thunderbolts movie in the worst fucking way now.
There's a lot they can do. And I hope he comes back to play Walker because I know he got a lot of shit, unnecessary shit for the role.
Yeah,
like
Wyatt Russell got a lot of crap for it, so I hope he does come back too. But we've talked a lot about Marvel stuff. Let's get into our main event. Let's talk some Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah. Mortal Kombat! Now I'm gonna fucking usurp you and take the reins for this one.
All right.
Because I am a massive Mortal Kombat fan. And I know you are too, right?
Right.
I remember spending hours playing Deadly Alliance back in the Dizzal. I love Mortal Kombat, bro. I was playing it back in the day when my mom was telling me not to play it because it was violent, right? And then you had the arcades, going to the arcades and playing Mortal Kombat there. And then for me, Mortal Kombat really picked up with Mortal Kombat 9, right?
Yep.
Because Mortal Kombat 9 is when they started caring about the story as well as the gameplay. Because when it comes down to it, the first Mortal Kombat's never had great gameplay, and they were early 90s, so they didn't have that much of a story. But Mortal Kombat 9 had a fantastic story. Great gameplay. Mortal Kombat 10, I think, had the best story. Still good gameplay. Mortal Kombat 11, it's a little shaky, but still good, right? And the character designs have only got better. Now, you're probably saying, Andrew, why are you setting up all this information? Well, it's because this movie is so heavily based off those games, at least with concept and design, that you can't ignore it.
Right.
This movie literally is a fucking child of those things. And I love Mortal Kombat is probably my second favorite fighting video game series. Samurai Showdown is number one. Maybe King of Fighters, then Mortal Kombat. Who knows? But this movie, I was so pumped for it, dude. I was so pumped for it. I don't know if you were excited going into it, but I was.
I was excited. How do I phrase this the right way? I was excited for the action. I was a little worried about the story because, unfortunately, a lot of these video game movies, that's what happens. Visually, looks incredible, and then you get to the story, the meat and the potatoes of it, and it sort of falls apart.
Yeah.
Which this one, I think, did better than its 90s predecessors.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I have a couple things about it. Number one, holy shit, is it fast? the pacing of this thing, I have to go piss. I come back and there's 15 new characters that they introduced. But it didn't make me hate the movie. I still really, for the record, I really enjoyed Mortal Kombat. Do I think it was the best? No, but I think it was very good.
Yeah, I think Mortal Kombat is a great example of a movie that did a lot of things right that I liked, and a lot of things that I don't like, and it did it right anyways. For example, let me just tell you, things I think it did phenomenally well. I think this movie has to be one of the best movies to physically, like the actual looks of the actors, match the video game characters so well. Like for example, Batman, right? Michael Keaton looks nothing like what Bruce Wayne would look like, right? That motherfucker looks, Beetlejuice does not look like Batman, right?
Right.
Even CW Flash, right? He doesn't look like Barry Allen, right? Despite how good their acting may or may not be. Sonya Blade looks like Sonya Blade. Hanzo Hasashi, Scorpion, looks like Scorpion. Bi-Han, Sub-Zero, looks like Sub-Zero. Jax looks like Jax. Fuck, Liu Kang and Kung Lao look like... was kind of iffy on the looks. Like, he could look like Raiden, but, like, he looked like fucking Raiden jumped off his diet and decided to just chill for the coronavirus and not work out. And then, I mean, other than that, like, everyone looked the part, right? I think that was fantastic. Obviously, the fighting scenes were fantastic. And although I would have liked to tournament, I think it was smart that they didn't do the tournament and they just went to, well, let's fucking kill each other. The things that I didn't like, and I guess the biggest thing that I didn't like that I was surprised work, is I hate it when movies introduce exclusive characters, right?
Yep.
Cole Young was introduced into this. And from the get-go, I was not liking this.
Yeah.
Especially if they did a tournament, because if they did a protagonist, and Liu Kang always wins the first tournament. That's just staple, right? But they did a good job with the character, and I actually enjoyed the character. Something I didn't want in my movie actually worked out pretty well. So that my quick takes. Oh, and I love that they all have their powers. I just think it's stupid how they get them. Like, Kano's supposed to have a motherfucking robot eye. That's why he shoots a laser. Instead, he gets a magical power where he shoots one eye laser.
Listen, Kano was one of the best things about the movie.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But how they got their powers was just silly.
So, I mean, it's not a perfect movie, obviously, by any stretch of the imagination. There's a pretty decent amount of things wrong with it. To me, the pacing was very fast-paced, but at the same time, they clearly left this wide motherfucking open for more, which I'm fine with. And I think...
Did you hear about the actor with that played Sub-Zero?
What?
He signed on, if this movie is considered financially successful, he signed on for 4 more movies.
Oh, I did hear about that, yeah. So taking it like that as like a starting point made me like this movie more. Like, if it was just Mortal Kombat by itself, not really digging it. But if it's part of a series, then I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like, I can definitely see this as a prequel. It's like, how do I say this? You may disagree with me. Batman Begins. I like Batman. I like Batman Begins mainly because it's the beginning of everything. If it was by itself, I'm not sure how I would feel so much about it.
Oh, yeah. You're stepping up a wrong road with me because Batman Begins is my favorite Batman film. Really? Yeah, we can talk about that at a different time.
Yeah.
But you know what? I see where you're coming at. You know what I think this franchise would have benefited from that they didn't do?
More violence?
If this was a miniseries, like the first movie, instead of making a movie in a hour and however minutes, I think it was hour 30, instead of doing that, right, have it be 10 episodes. A 10 episodes miniseries, and then each episode could focus on 1 to 2 characters, right, of the protagonists. And then you could flesh out the characters, and then you can actually tell that first tournament or whatever story you want and not have it be really rushed.
It's funny, you're not the first person who told me that, too, and I agree with you. I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah. I think with a game, I think with any fighting game you could do that. But the thing that Mortal Kombat has, I think, over a lot of other fighting games, and I dare say more than King of Fighters, more than Street Fighter, is that it really digs deep into its characters. Like their backstory, who they are as characters. You could do a full fucking movie about Scorpion himself. And Hanzo Hasashi and his betrayal and everything. And they changed that up too, right? Because Hanzo Hasashi gets killed by Quan Chi, not Sub-Zero. Well, no. Well, yeah. It's Quan Chi. Quan Chi orchestrates it. But in this movie, Quan Chi's not even part of it. So, curious how that's going to play out later.
That's true, yeah. I mean, there's still a good amount of that they can still do into this. So, I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed this. It wasn't perfect, but I'll tell you what, the violence was fucking on point.
Oh my god, it was on point. The fatalities were on point.
Yeah, they did a good. I mean, it's what the fucking game was known for. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they're gonna, like, the one thing you can't screw up in this is the fatalities, and they did it well. But I think you're right. I think this would have been better as a mini series. But either way, I still, for what it was, I enjoyed it. Then again, my expectations were a little on the lower side. But the only real major downside to me, like I said, was the pacing. I felt like it was a little too fast, especially at the beginning, and like, I feel like they were just like, oh, here's so-and-so, here's so-and-so. Like, who's the... I have horrible names. Who's the guy with the hat with the blade on it?
Kung Lao.
He just popped out of fucking nowhere. Hey, cousin. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, listen, I get it. There's going to be some that are going to be fucking sacrificial lambs, and I understand, like, bigger picture. Okay, fine. But, like, fuck.
Yeah.
And is it just me, or did Liu Kang look a little scrawny?
Well, I mean, a little. He still was in shape.
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
A martial artist doesn't need to be like Liu Kang in the video games, who is like fucking Cody Rhodes, basically.
Yeah. Good point.
You know what else bothered me a little bit? I think the final fight was great. I don't think Cole Young needed to be in there. It should have been just Sub-Zero versus Scorpion, regardless who the victor should have been. It's like Rock versus Austin, right?
Right.
I don't need fucking Vince McMahon coming in and interfering. I just want to see the two of them duke it out. So that's another thing that I didn't care for.
Fair enough. All right, I think we covered everything, right? I think we covered everything we wanted to cover. So. Cool. Yeah. Despite technical difficulties, which the magic of editing nobody will know about. Whatever. We'll leave a little bit of it in. But anyway, we'd love to hear your thoughts on everything, guys. So make sure you follow us at Pod Fandom over on Twitter. Follow us on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Anchor, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the fun ones. We'd love to hear from you guys. So make sure you follow us, like I said, on Twitter. And yeah, I think that's all I got to really say on this one, my friend. Any last minute thoughts before we wrap it up?
None at all. Just everyone be safe out there.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
All right, you guys know the deal. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate the continued love and support. Take care, and as always, take it easy.
Peace out.